Well, hello. Hi, Paradigm Shifters. It's December 15th, 2020. Let's take a deep breath into this moment in time. We'll never have this moment again. And so we're going to breathe in and put ourselves fully into this moment, this beautiful moment in 2020. And I welcome you. We are at 548. 548 shifters. Yeah, high five. Yeah, no kidding. And fist bumps, elbow bumps, and so let's start and put one arm over here and here, and let's give ourselves a great big old tree hug. Remember, maybe we can't hug each other, but maybe we go hug a tree today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Before we start, I wanted to talk about a little bit about why I figured that it was time we talked about our trees at this particular time. And so I looked around and I thought, wow, this is a pine cone. And it's a pine cone, a very special pine cone that I took in from Pennsylvania. It's a Pennsylvania pine tree. Connects with Rivers pine trees, and we're all connected. But my mom and dad are at rest underneath the pine trees in Cambridge Springs, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
They're there, and there's a little park bench by their gravesite. And it's where that they wanted to be, in the forest, in the trees. It was up the road, a couple blocks from where I grew up. And when my father was buried, I went into the pine woods and I brought back to Texas the pine cones. And so I've had these, and I thought that, wow, everything's connected. Everything is all connected. And it also brought me to this program that we all have teach, everyone here on here have taught, this standing firm when your world is shaking. And it's and I'll show you that too, right there. And it's like, okay, well, we are in the middle of some shakiness, the global shakiness. And what if by we talking about being grounded and with our sisters and brothers trees, we talked today with a tree expert. So I first met River. Well, we both had the same haircut back when I had hair. And it was like we were in LA, and I was 65 at the time, and I went and they said, hey, you need a new haircut. Let's just shave one side and you can be asymmetrical. I said, okay. Then I went out to LA, and River and I had that same thing. We could either be short hair or long hair. And so we were talking, and I thought, River, I'm going to let you take it from here, but River lives in the trees, has been tree, and so, well, let's give a paradigm shifting. Oh, great! She's going to take us out into the sheet. Hi, River. It's all yours. I'm going to let you take it from here. Thank you so much.
okay. Well, I have had a love of nature for years and years and years. And I was born sort of in the woods. I had a feral upbringing, if you will, surrounded by, my dad decided to develop a camping club. He went from a rocket scientist to a camp club developer, and he drug us all down there, or actually my mom did. So we lived out in the middle of nowhere and ran around in thousands and thousands of acres of trees. And so that's where I first, I love that. So this is where I live now.
Wow.
It does have its fire dangers, right, Bill? But I'm surrounded by these amazing trees. And one of the first things that I realized when I was getting older. I'd gone on this great gold mining adventure when I was 19 years old, and I was riding my horse up near, it's called Cinnacuts, in the Feather River Canyon uh, below Chester. And I thought, wow, what if there weren't any of these wild spaces left to explore and to be in? And that was a pivotal moment in my life where I decided that I was going to dedicate myself to creating wild spaces and having wild spaces. And I ended up on go, when you have a dream. So I had this dream of getting back to Northern California, becoming a forester and working for Collins Pine. That was my 19-year-old self's plan. Well, I ended up getting involved with, when I went to college, I I found my path, which was in actually in analysis. And the person who developed the forest, the program, the linear program that the entire Forest Service used for all of their NEPA analysis, all their environmental policies, he was my professor, and I got it. For some reason, I got constraints and integers and growth and yield models, and everybody else was just like, you're crazy, right? They wanted to go out and do applied forestry. And I was like, no way, I've already done that. Isn't that why I'm in college? And so ended up in environmental policy. And so through that, I was able to be at a national level in developing policy around roadless areas. And it was really pretty exciting. And, as actually, I had a lot of stakeholder meetings that I was in charge of, and it was very angry. And that led me into how can I get people to think together? I need to develop my leadership skills. And then that led me into the whole transformational process of, how can we think together? And it was, how we just get led down a path. And so I ended up in organization development, which is how can we all think together? How can we all really see that we're all interdependent? And then I just want to show you when I don't know if I can show a clip. Can I show a clip?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so I can share my screen, right?
Yeah. Do you have your computer there? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm actually holding it.
This is great.
So can I share?
Oh, wait a second. Okay, I have to do something. So, well, yes, you can. Hang on a second. Let me
Yeah,
make.
so I share my screen, but I just want to show you like where I grew up in. We actually have a 126-acre farm up in Washington, just north of Portland.
Okay, I think you're good.
Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna
There we go. Oh, this looks great. This will be great.
oh boy. I'm using a different computer. It's asking me something. There it
There we
is. So
go.
let me
It's there. It's there.
So this was just in October when I was up
I'm
there
up
taking care of my mom and
at
dad.
my parents' property outside of Amboy, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest. And we just walked up to a peak, and now I'm walking down through the woods. There's tons of salmon berries. But I'm going to be quiet because I want you to listen to all the amazing birds.
there you go. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share with you, like, I think that nature is so important to us because there's all kinds of studies out there that show the importance of nature and the how it affects us in terms of our resilience, our focus, our mental clarity, relieving stress. So I want to leave one tip with you,
Yes.
is that trees actually, they're doing more and more studies about this interconnectedness of trees and plants. And I'm also involved with the Damanhur community, which is an eco-spiritual community in Italy. And they have done a lot with the plants, and they developed a technology where they listen to plants. And so that's what that music was all about in the background. It didn't sound like we could really hear it very well, but wait for a sign. But anyway, they developed this whole technology of the plants and listening to plants, and plants will actually sing. And I can also post a YouTube video from Damanhur about that. But there's another book that just came out by a researcher and scientist about the interconnectedness of trees, and also there's a major movie out there about fungi. Well, trees cannot actually live without mycorrhizal fungi. And so they're part of this connection. And Damanhur definitely believes in this connection with the trees, that they share information. And all this new research is coming out there. And so this is a big paradigm shift, that there's actually knowledge in trees and plants. And so that's why it's so important to save as many species as we possibly can, because their knowledge, who knows what we're going to discover. I mean, right now we're just discovering this connection, this intelligence. They're measuring all of these, the connection, the electrical currents that are going in between trees and fungi and plants. And so if you want to go out, all you have to do is even have plants around you. Like, I have quite a few plants around me.
Okay, everyone, there's your first step, is like, look around, one, inside your house or outside, right, River? It doesn't have to be, if it's
Yeah,
really
it
cold.
doesn't have to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say for me, if you are walking, that you can go up to a tree, you can lean on a tree. I like to put my head on my forehead on the tree trunk, and then you breathe on the tree. And because you're giving your tree your breath, and then they're also creating oxygen for us. And so just to be in the presence of this huge tree, or, it doesn't have to be huge, but be in the presence that these trees are actually, beings in themselves. And I think that's a really powerful way to actually slow down your heart rate, to actually de-stress right now. Really powerful. And if you don't have a park or something that you can take a walk in, then you can have a picture of one. Because even they've done it that even looking at a picture of nature is calming. And if you think about it, I mean, we've evolved in the woods, we've evolved in nature, and just now being not in nature has
it's been a very short span of, if you look about the entire lifespan of, not lifespan, but the whole history of humans, it's just a very small amount that we've been so removed from nature.
So what you just said, I just want to highlight that for everybody here, is to put your head on the tree, if you chose to do, right, and breathe on the tree. Could you tell us about that? You were telling me yesterday about how the trees are breathing on us. And so tell us more about that cycle, why that's important, or how you do it. Can you?
It's the photosynthesis, but anyway, they're actually uh, storing carbon dioxide, carbon. They're large stores of carbon. They're breathing that in, what we're breathing out. And so we're breathing in what they're breathing out. And so there is this circulatory system that we're part of with them. So, you giving them your breath is probably the most kind act that you can do. But I also think it's like you are giving to them your presence, if you will. Instead of just hustling by. I mean, we think we're so removed from nature. That's what we were talking about, that we really feel like we're totally removed from nature, like nature is somehow outside of ourselves. And it's also what we're talking about, any complex system. So I'm also a systems thinker, an analyst, and I'm also have the spiritual bent. So I'm sort of the nexus between spirituality and science. And that I really, really feel like we're complex systems, and any complex systems has different ways that leverage points. And this was done by a systems thinker years ago, Danielle Meadows. And so she described these different leverage points. Well, your second highest leverage point, the biggest bang for your buck, is your paradigms. So and then I was also, when I was doing my master's, I was comparing biological emergent systems with human emergent systems, seeing what was the difference in, between the two, because we're all moving to our next greater whole. I mean, really, that's the idea. And any ecosystem, when we're studying ecosystems, is that you want more and more diversity. The more diverse your systems are, the more complex they are, the more resilient you are. And so, yeah, so as we're moving, so if you think about where we are in the world right now, there's a big sort of breaking down of systems. And that as we are breaking down, as we move into the next greater whole, there is disintegration that happens. So disintegration happens, parts move around, shift around, and then a new whole is formed. But if it's more diverse, it's going to be more resilient. Oh. So we're moving to this greater, new greater whole. That's what I always think of myself as. I'm moving to, my next greater whole. I may not know what it looks like, but in my analysis of emergent systems is that what's the most important thing in the process is how the parts interact.
So I love this, and so what I would love to do is to once again take a deep breath in here, and reiterate the affirmation for everyone out there, for everyone listening, that River just said, I am moving to my next greater whole. So let's take a deep breath into that and hold this sacred space. I think the trees hold a sacred space They are grounded. I am moving to my next greater whole, right? So, what I'd like to end this little recording with asking you, River, a question. All right. And this is a question that we ask at the end of each. Thank you, thank you for your expert. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming out of the woods.
Yes.
Thank you for encouraging us to get back in the woods. But one of the things that I want to thank you for taking your time to give of yourself to this global community. And we are like, I think 9 or 10 countries now, all over the globe, you know, as well as all over the United States. And what we would like to do for you is give back to you. What would you love to have us hold as a community for you and your family, for whatever? What would you love for River?
Well, I think for me, it's like as we are moving to our next greater whole, that all of us are, that we remember that it's how we interact. You know, if we're parts of the interaction, right, as we're moving, and there's systems within systems within systems within systems. So we are a system, our own self individual. So when you interact with yourself, it's how you are interacting with yourself that's the most important. How you're interacting with your family, how you're interacting with your community, with your work. So when you're interacting, say, to put the reverence of this interaction, because in this interaction, even though if it feels like it's disintegrating, that there's reverence in this interaction with everyone, that we're going to the next greater whole. If I'm going to the next greater whole, and this is such a sacred space, how would I show up? How would I be present in this moment?
I love it.
So that's what I would say is bring your whole self and your whole presence forward to this sacred moment.
No, thank you so much, Easter. This is great. Well, and once again, like for anybody watching this, I have a free gift. You know, just give me a text and I will send you a photo and a picture of a tree, one of my favorite trees. It'll be a random tree, okay? And what I like to do is I'll put it on the screensaver of my phone. And so you could download it, put it on your phone, and bam, you can be with the trees for this whole beautiful season and the rest of our lives. And what if that's what we all need to do to heal? Thank you so much, River. I so appreciate it. What a beautiful thing to have, like towards the end of 2020 to remind us. So thank you so much, Easter. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the tree inside of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and the opportunity to share with your community and actually my community on Paradigm Shifters. And I love what you're up to, Judy, and have always just loved your spunky, edgy spirit.